Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome to my shop. My parallel clamp situation has been a problem for a while. They're hard to access, they're poorly organized, so I just want a better solution with a rack that hangs on the wall, easily accessible from my assembly bench, and that's what I'm starting here. So this is not an original design. I've borrowed heavily from others who've come before. Rather than relying on measurements and potentially getting them wrong, I'm taking my dimensions here straight from the clamps themselves. So starting with a bunch of scraps from my pile of plywood, I'm cutting 9 by 9 inch squares to start. So first cut one length to 9 inches. Then, making sure I'm square, I cut the other dimension to 9 inches. And then coming in really just sort of an arbitrary 2 inches from two corners, I'm going to cut a 45-degree angle across to create some space in the front to make it easier to get the clams in and out. And I'm going to be using a stop block to set these up so that I can make these repeat cuts without any hassle. So now for some real layout. So I'm taking each piece and using a square and the pieces themselves. I'm marking both sides so that I can use those for pre-drilling and then screwing a little bit later, as we'll see. I found it really useful to use a 1.5 inch spacer rather than having to measure this each time. I just put it up against the previous line, drop my square, and then that one's set. I just rock and roll. So once I have this system, I can work really quickly and efficiently. So just watch how fast I get this done. So only now do I actually choose the final length of the unit, taking it right off from those other marks. Okay, so this guy's all marked for all the pieces. I got them spaced appropriately. I'll cut it down to length. So I'm now going to be preparing to attach this to the wall, and I'm going to use French cleats to do that. So just cut 2 scrap pieces of plywood. They're going to go onto the back. This one's just going to go on as this has a spacer to keep it the right distance away from the wall. And this guy I'm just going to rip down the middle at a 45-degree angle on the table saw. One's going to get mounted onto the wall. I can screw it straight into the studs, be nice and secure. And the other guy's just going to hang onto it. And I've used this system a number of times, and every time I am surprised at how strong it is. You can hang a ton of weight off of these. They're super simple. You want to relocate it, you just pull it off, spackle, boom, done. Really simple. So let's rip this, and then let's get ready to start assembling. Safety is really important with this operation. You don't want to have any kickbacks. I'm using a featherboard here to help me keep this up against the fence. And I started with it a little too tight, so you'll actually see me adjust it in fast motion here. So these are the 2 halves of my French cleat. So this guy's going to go on the wall. This is going to be on the back of the unit. It's going to hang on there like that. So before I get too much further, I'm going to start drilling. This guy's going to go on like so. I just want to mark these, and this is just the spacer. For the purpose of that, I'm now going to pre-drill all these holes and then countersink some of them from behind. So I only need to countersink the ones that need to be out of the way where the cleat and that spacer are. I can just save myself some time by not doing all of them. So just from my layout lines, let's drill from the front. So now I'm just countersinking the couple of holes that needed it. So now's assembly time. I just put a bead of glue across the back of each piece, lined it up with its marks. I then pre-drilled from behind for the first screw on top, made sure it was aligned with both marks, and then pre-drilled and then ran in each of the other two screws. So my only real expense on this project actually was the wood screws I used, and then a couple of long drywall screws I used to put the cleat into the wall in a minute here. So on the back, the cleat and the bottom spacer were just glued and held in with a couple of screws. So once I determined how high I wanted, I had to just find my studs. So I'm marking the studs. And then I'm marking my screw positions directly from those marks on the cleat that's going to go onto the wall. And then off camera I'm going to pre-drill and countersink those because they have to be flush for the piece to hang onto it. Again, 4 screws at 3 inches each, all into the studs, so pretty darn strong. But certainly the weight of the clamps is not going to be an issue.